All right, so welcome to the workshop technology. And again, I have posted the link to this particular website, which we'll be using, I guess, throughout our times here. So it will be today and next week. All right. So let me introduce myself. My name is Pisutha-Arnond. I think we've met last week through online orientation. I teach at Industrial Engineering Department. And pretty much, although I teach at Industrial Department, I am in love with writing software. So that's why today I'm actually going to teaching you something that's not quite relevant to the industrial engineers, but more like computer engineer. Okay, so that will be web application. All right, so that's my my passion for the past 5 years. All right. Okay, so that's the link. Okay, so what you will be doing today is to get some hands-on the technology called web application development. And behind the scene, you will be using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and also React. Okay. All right. So when I talk about software, there are many ways you can write software. But for me, I'm particularly involved in writing a special kind of software called the web application. Okay. So let me distinguish this web application from other types of software. Okay. So when you talk about software, you might be thinking about the things that are actually running on the operating system, like Windows, Mac OS, or even Linux. Okay. And for example, if I were to turn on, like anything, for example, maybe Microsoft Word, right? This thing is actually the software that runs on the operating system, okay? And this type of applications actually talks, it talks to the operating system directly, right? It accesses the memory, accesses the file, and do other kind of calculations, maybe, right? And the thing about this software, as you might be aware, if I have one particular software for Windows, I cannot use that particular version on Mac OS, right? I need to buy maybe another license for Mac OS. The software is not interchangeable per se, because they are targeted for that particular architecture of that operating systems, okay? And if you want to develop this type of software, you gotta know, the framework that is used for each of the operating system. For example, if you want to write software that runs on Windows, you have to know C#. If you want to write software that runs on the Mac OS, you have to know Swift. And for Android stuff, you have to know Kotlin and C++ for Linux. So what end up this type of software, what end up being is that it's pretty expensive, right? If you want to hire a team, you gotta hire different teams to do the same thing for different operating system. That's a lot of work, right? The software that I'm interested and have been working on it for a while is called web application, which you use it every day, right? It's a software that's actually run on the web browsers, right? Web browser is another application that runs on the operating systems, right? But this type of software that you're going to write today is actually run on the web browser, right? And as you might know, web browser is actually the most widely used software in the world. Like every devices nowadays has web browser in some shape or form, right? Safari, Chrome, Microsoft Edge. Even all of this run on the phone, on iPad, on the edge devices, everywhere, all right? And the thing about this is that this software, when you run on the operating system, run on the web browser, it doesn't talk to the system directly. So it does have some downside to it. But for most part, it actually has a huge benefit because you can write the software once, and you can use it everywhere because it just happened that all the devices that you're using around the world, they all have web browser. So you write once but you use everywhere. So that's the huge benefit, and that's why you can see that a lot of software have migrated toward the web application platform. You know, an obvious example is like when I was young, or maybe when I was, I guess, the teenagers. Like I'm quite old, right? When I want to use, when I want to do a presentation, I use PowerPoint, right? I mean, people use PowerPoint nowadays, but then you guys are the younger generation. What do you use to make presentation? You use Canva. Canva is a type of web application. It doesn't run on the OS directly. It runs on the web browser. And nowadays, web browser is actually powerful enough to actually power application that is quite complex as Canva, basically. So, and also Figma is another great example. If I want to do like 10 years ago, you know, any photo editing software, it has to be Photoshop. But nowadays, you can do all of that in Figma. Maybe I would say Illustrator, like Adobe Illustrator would be the go-to for vector graphics design. But nowadays, it was Figma. And Figma is actually taking over the design space because of how easy it is and actually a more rapid development in terms of like making new feature into the software because of the fact that it's write once and it's used everywhere, okay? So that's why, you know, it's a huge win, right? And in order to do that, you gotta know or use some of the language or, yeah, basically a language, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's pretty much, you know, what is powering what you are using everywhere on the web browser. You know, let it be Canva, Figma, or any web application that you're using nowadays. Okay. All right, so let's set it up, okay? So the tools that we will be using is the software that helps you write all of this. It's called VS Code. Think about VS Code, you know, this one, as the text editor. You can also write everything in Notepad, but it's kind of, you know, it's too bare bone basically. VS Code has a lot of bells and whistles that will help you write code faster. So we're going to use that. I believe VS Code is available on all of your computer. So why don't we open it up, shall we? It's going to be here. And just search for this particular icon. Okay, you got it? If you cannot find it, you can let me know. If you can find it, then great job. All right, and in case I don't show this link to you, you can also access it from the Canva course right here. So my name is Niran, so you can see Ajahn Niran, and then this is the link to this, I guess the website that I host my lecture. Okay. All right, so first, you don't have to set up anything because I set it up for you. All right, everything's done. So we're going to be using HTML first, okay? So HTML, okay, can I get a hand, anybody who has used HTML before? Okay, maybe a lot of you. Maybe I should not bother you anymore, okay? I'll bother other guys. Maybe you can help me teach your friends, okay? So HTML is not a language per se, it's a markup language. What it means is that it used to as the presentation language, but you cannot use it to calculate, okay? And it just defines what's actually going to be on the page itself, okay? And then you're gonna see very quickly that by just using HTML, the web application looks pretty ugly. So you want to style it, make it nice, pop out, you know, with the newest design. That's where the CSS come in. So CSS is another markup language that helps you style your HTML content, okay? And maybe today we'll stop at CSS. And next time we're going to make the website or web application dynamics by adding scripting language called JavaScript, okay? And that will be the last thing we do, maybe next week. Okay, so let's start from HTML, okay? So HTML is the markup language, as I mentioned. Okay, it just tells the web browser. So web browser understand HTML, and you can tell web browser to display certain things on the page. That's it, okay? And then we're gonna add CSS and then JavaScript later on to make it a full-fledged web application later. Okay? So the anatomy of HTML will be comprised of what is called the tag, T-A-G, so elements, okay? And you will see by doing it, okay, by listening to this, it's kind of maybe not too clear, and then you will see once you start to play around with it, you will get it in no time. But let me just tell you the structure of what the HTML element is. The HTML element will start by having this particular tag, which is the less than a greater than sign, and then enclosing that will be a letter telling what type of elements it is. For example, if you see P with the brackets, that means that it's the paragraph, right? And you can see that what's inside is called the content, okay? The content will tell you what's inside that paragraph. And then you're gonna have another type of symbol, which is the closing tag. As you can see that it's similar to the opening tag, but it just have this / just to signal the browser that that's the end of the paragraph. Okay, you will be using some of the common HTML tags later on in a very close time. Okay, all right, and also in addition to just the letter that tells you what type of that HTML tag is, you can also specify more information regarding that particular tag. For example, that particular paragraph text can also have more information. As you can see that it's actually still inside the opening and closing brackets, right? And this is telling you that have particular class. Okay, so class we probably won't go into it today, but it's just more information as you will see later on in a short time. All right. Okay. I don't want to bore you too much, so I'm going to start right away, okay? All right, so in order to make maybe a web page, okay, so you are going to go to your VS Code, okay? And the first thing is we are going to select the right workspace. Okay, so workspace is like folder, okay? So what you can do is I'm going to go to my desktop. And I'm going to create a new folder, okay? And I'm going to name this folder HTML. It can be any name you want, right? Just name a new folder. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open VS Code, okay? I'm going to move it, next to my folder, and I can drag my folder here. See this? See this motion? Okay, and if I were to let go, then you can see that my VS Code has been set with the particular workspace or folder, right? As you can see that the name of my folder coincides with whatever come up here. It's the same thing. So this is just to signal you that you are in the right workspace. Okay, so the first step is to set up your VS Code to be at the right workspace. Oh, okay. Pardon me. I need to pick up this phone. Okay, let me resume, okay? All right. So hopefully you guys have VS Code. And if you were to click at this particular icon, that's called Explorer, then you can see the name of your folder, okay? So that's what I want you to do, okay? And once you do that, you can come here and click this particular button that says New File, okay? This guy right here, okay? If I were to click here, you can see that I can write the name of the new file. Oh, okay, not here. Okay, I want to name this file called index.html. Okay, so again, let me show you one more time. Okay, I'm going to delete it. Okay, so first, if you just drag the folders in, you should not see anything on the Explorer bar. Then what you want to do is click at the New Files button. Okay, and you can see that you can type the name. I'm going to type index.html. Okay, so pay attention to the extension right here. It has to be HTML for the rest of the things to work. Okay, I cannot see your screen, so maybe if you have problem, can you let me know? Just signal me and I'll go take a look. Okay. All right, so for those who already have index.html, you can see that on the middle panel, I can type something, right? I can start typing codes, right? But not yet. You should not type anything just yet. Just delete everything. And what you can do, I can use exclamation. And then I can press the tab key on my keyboard in order to come up with the scaffold of the HTML documents. Okay, let me do it one more time. Okay, I'm gonna redo, right? So start with the blank files. You can type exclamation, which is the shift 1, and then you can press the tab key. The tab key is actually next to the Q, keyboard. Okay, and you will get something called the HTML documents. One more time, I don't know if you have got that, okay? Exclamation and tab, okay? And this is your first HTML documents, all right? Once you have this, okay, so one thing that you have to remember is that when you code, if you don't save it, your change will not get reflected. So please pay attention to this particular dot right here. Okay? If you see this dot, that means that you haven't saved your work yet. You have to save it. Okay? The way to save is to go to File and go to Saved. This guy right here. If you click Save, you can see that the dot disappear. Okay, so I'm going to save, okay, and see that my dot disappear. So this is good. Once you start typing, you're going to see that the dot comes back, and please save it. Okay? And the trick for me is that I usually don't do File, Saved. I usually just do Control S. Okay? So that's my keyboard shortcut. So when I change anything, I just do Control S in order to make it faster. Okay? But you can use Files and Save for now. All right? So next stop, we are going to make something happening on our web browser, okay? But before you do that, let's just try typing something so that we can see that it's actually what you type, okay? So I want you to pay attention to this particular line. You can see that this line has a tag or HTML tag called the body tag. Whatever goes between this tag will appear on the web browsers, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to place a circle, a cursor right here, and maybe just press enter one time to make a space, and just type something. For example, hi, I am Niran, okay? Just type something in here between the body tag, and then saved. Please save it, okay? All right? Okay, once you do that, okay, make sure that you save your stuff. Okay, there's no white dots here. Okay, now you can open this file in the web browser. In order to do that, can you right click and choose this particular option? open with live server. Actually, I need to see if you have this particular options or not. Can I see? Can you right click? Oh, restrict mode, can you manage, please? And then trust. Okay, now you have to save it. Can you save? File, saved. Okay, can you right click? Right click, open with live. Okay, so everybody should be able to, open with live server, okay? If you do that, you're gonna be greeted with actually whatever you just type in here. See this? I am Niran. Is that cool? Whatever you just type there just appear on the web browser, and that's the job for HTML, because HTML just tell the web browser what to display. Okay? If you got this to work, okay, so if you didn't get this to work, can you let me know? Can you raise your hand or signal me? Okay? Or else I'm gonna assume you got this. Okay. If you got this to work, let's try this. I'm going to place this one on the left. I mean, you have multiple screens, so you should have, your web browser on one screen and VS Code on the other screen, okay? But I only have one screen, so I have to do this. Okay? Let me just do this. If I were to change anything in here, let's say my last name, okay? And I hit File and I saved, you can see that the change is reflected in the web browser automatically. Do you see that behavior? If you can see that behavior, then we're good to go, okay? Again, the thing that I want you to notice or make it happen is that whenever you change a code, right, and you saved it, I can even use my Control-S keyboard shortcut, and I can see that my change got reflected right away. So that is something that you want to make it happen first before we go a bit deeper into the actual syntax. Okay, and for those who has got this to work, why don't we try something fun? Another fun thing is this guy right here. Whatever goes between the title tag, it's actually gonna display on the name of that particular tab. So let's try them real quick. I'm gonna say that my very cool website, okay? And then I'm going to hit Control-S because that's what I use all the time. And as you can see that now, my title on the tab has changed. Okay, I don't see any hands. I suppose you guys are okay. All right. Okay. If you're okay, we're gonna move on to try something fun. Okay. So first, I think we might need a title or a header in our code. So I'm gonna delete this because everything. I mean, to make it kind of strictly correct, you should put your content inside the HTML tag. So whatever I just typed right here, it's fine, but it's not the most correct way to do. Okay, let's do it correctly. Okay. So first, I'm going to write the tag called h1. Okay. So notice this behavior. If I were to type, opening, right, h1 and then close, VS Code automatically input the closing tag to me right away because it knows that I need the closing tag. Okay, whatever go inside will be your header. Okay, so welcome to my website. There you go. This is too big. Let's move it back. Okay, so that will be the normal size. You can see that this thing has a boldface font, right? It's a header. So H1 is a level 1 header. Okay. Next up, I'm going to go for P tag. So P is the paragraph tag. So the little p, sorry, the little p. Okay. And then I'm going to close it. Okay. Inside, my name is Niran. Okay. Okay. As you can see that the correct way is to put your content inside the HTML tag so that you can, I guess later on you'll see that you can style it easily. Okay, I know that for those who already know HTML, it might sound a little bit boring, so maybe you can try something cool and show me later, okay? All right, so what does the P do? P is the paragraph. It just, so whenever there is a tag, sometimes it has the property called the margin. The margin is like a space between the content and whatever goes on above. So as you can see that there sits a little bit of space here, and that's because you have the HTML tag. For example, I mean, if you want to go, let me show you this. I can even just inspect this thing, and I can see that this particular, I guess, this particular header, it has content, and it has the margin on top and on the bottom, something like that. So all of these come up because you use the HTML tag. It tells the browser to do certain behavior. Okay, but we'll go into that later on, okay? Not now, but something like that, all right? So next stop, I want to show you my favorite food. So let's do H2. So H2 is called the header level 2, so a bit smaller. Okay, so I can say that my favorite food. As you can see that the size is a bit smaller because of the tag. It's different. Okay. There you go. Is that cool? And maybe you can write something in a paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to show you a new trick. Is sometimes you have to write the opening and closing bracket. That's a lot of typing. Usually, VS Code is smart enough to know if you are actually writing the HTML tag. So let me show you this behavior. I just type P, and then I hit tab. It automatically makes the HTML tag from me. Let me show you one more time. I just type P and then tab. That's something that you can do to make things quicker. But at the beginning, probably not need, right? But I just want to show you that once you do this for a while, then you start to use this shortcut and you can go really fast. That's all, okay? So I love food, something like that, okay? But then I think, when you want to show some other people your favorite food, it might be nice to make a list. Okay, so let's do some list. List is going to be in the UL tag. It's called unordered list. Okay, inside the unordered list, there is something called list, which is li. Okay, for example, I like pizza. There you go. As you can see that once I use this particular structure, then I got a list with some margin and some indentation. And you can have more. I can have li, and then I like rice. For some reason, this one looks it's too childish. Maybe you can make your website more professional. This one's really childish. Okay? Once you got your food, then maybe you can show something fun like my pet. Okay? I'm going to show you H3. It's the header level 3, even smaller. So my pet. Okay, I mean, technically, if you want to do this properly, you should not use too many types of header level. Just keep it maybe 2. That's enough. T3 is, I guess, too many. And you can go down or maybe up in terms of the number to 6. There's 6 levels of header. Okay. All right. So here it might be a good place to actually place some images on it, because it might be nice to show the picture of your pets in here. So let's do that. Okay. The website that I always go to, it's called pexel.com. Okay. Why don't we visit this website? Okay, and then you can use this website to search for your imaginary pets. Okay, for example, I like dog. So I'm going to use some of this picture on my website. Okay, particularly this guy right here. Okay, so if you want to, if you know how to do this, just go ahead and choose other type of picture from other places. If you're new, please make sure that you are on this page, meaning that you have some picture in front of the website, like it's called a pop-up like this. Okay, if you're new, just make sure that you are in this particular configuration. You have the picture that kind of pops up in front like this. Okay. What I want you to do is to right-click. Okay. And there's going to be an option called Copy Image Link. Okay? Let's do that. Okay? And before we even use this one in our code, can you check with me one more time for those who are new? Okay? Can you open a new tab? Okay? And can you paste that thing that you just copied down onto the address bar? And make sure that you're seeing something like this. Okay? What you are seeing is just an image. So as you can see that this thing is just an image. It's not the website. If you're seeing other things, for example, if you see, like logo, anything like this, that means you copy the wrong link. What you want is the link that when you open it in the address bar, it has to be just the image like this. That's all you need. Okay? I don't want website to appear here. I want just the image. Okay? If that's the case, then you got the right link. So I'm going to copy again. It's already on your clipboard. Okay? I'm going to come back to my code. Okay? And I need to expand this a little bit. And I'm going to use a tag called the img tag. Okay? But pay special attention to this tag. This tag is different from the other ones. This tag is actually self-closing. Okay? Pay attention to this one. This one, it does not have the open and closing tag like this guy. So this guy has opening and closing. This guy, it's just self-closing. See the difference? It only have one. Just one opening and closing brackets. That's all. Okay? And in here, I want you to type with me src equal, and then the double quotes, exactly like this. And as you might have guessed, this is going to be the tag that display the image. And the source is where the image is, right? And that source is that particular link that I told you to copy and check. Okay, so I'm going to paste. So pasting, you can do right click and you can paste. It's a paste here, paste in here. And you can see that it has to be long. It's going to be long, right? Notice that the link is from this particular website, but it goes quite long. And it ends with JPEG. Mostly, it should end with JPEG. All right? And if you got that, you should be able to save it, okay? And you open your website one more time to see that it now has pictures on it, right? I got my dog on it, which for some reason is really, really huge. We're going to fix that soon, okay? But first thing is to make the image happen on your website first. Okay, now you need to tell me if you want me to go over any particular. Okay, good job. Please let me know. Okay, so this one. You need S. Okay, so this C is supposed to be here. Can you type C in here? And equal sign, equal, equal. Okay, and then the double quotation. Yeah, that one. Can you do maybe sorry? Just do shift and that one. Okay, and then this guy. Can you delete the equal sign? Okay, and delete one double quotation. Okay, can you save? There you go. Good job. It's kind of stupid, right? It's kind of... Okay. Now we have a problem because this one way too big, right? So we want to change that. Again, remember that I told you that you can put more information on the HTML tag itself, right? So we're going to do that. Right now, this particular tag already has this information on it, right? But we can put more. For example, I'm going to make one more line in here. See, I have one extra line in here, okay? And I'm going to say width equal, okay? And in between that quotes, you can say maybe 250 pixel. Okay, if I were to save and open now, my website looks a lot better, right? Okay, so what I want you to do is maybe, add more content to your website. You can add more section. You can add more images. Okay, you can. Just one thing to note is that not all the links works. Okay, it has to be the link that points to the image. For example, if you were to go to Google image, that does not work. Right? If I go to Google image, image search like this. So let's say like pet, a dog, right? And I go to image search like this. Wait, dog, like this, right? This one doesn't work. If I were to copy the link, okay, I copy the link, right? I do copy link address, right? I can do that. But what I got is I got a website. This one is a website. This one is not image. You can kind of see that because usually if you got the image, it has to have that extension, for example, JPG. But this one, it doesn't have any extension. This one points you to the website. This particular link does not work. Okay, so if you want to add more content, pay attention to the link that you use, it has to end with the image extension. Okay. Good job. Okay, so maybe I'll just add a couple more things to my website just for a kick. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll just do contact me. I want to do H1. Okay, contact me. So usually when you have a website, you put your contact info on something, right? I can say, my phone or something like that. Okay, so maybe I'll do. Okay, another thing you can do is you can do OL, which is order list. Okay, and inside you can do LI, and then you can see phone. Okay, I don't want to put my phone public, just do that. You can see that you will have a list with the numbers on it. Okay, address, blah, 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 CMU, something like that. Okay. One thing's down. Okay. Okay, so next up, I want to just put something in here just to allude you to the JavaScript in the end. So let's say if you put some button on it, what happened? So there is an HTML tag called button. Let's do that. Email me. As you can see that if I were to put some buttons on here, then a button appear on the page, and you can click it. It's actually, it responds to your click, right? But it doesn't do anything yet. But you can, maybe I should say click me or something. Maybe email is a bit too hard, but just click me. Okay, you can have button. And just to kind of make the point further, you can even have some text field for input. For example, I can do input, okay? Type, maybe just input. I think that's enough. You can see that if I were to put the input tags into it, okay, I can start typing. Although it doesn't do anything, but you can type something in, as you would do in a lot of the web application. Okay, so maybe I'll just move this one a little bit on top because I want the button to be a little bit higher. Okay. Something like that, okay? Okay, let me know if you have a problem. If you're not, then I'm going to move on, okay? Okay, all right. Next up, this one looks really, really outdated, right? Nobody has website like this nowadays. Like this one may be okay 20 years ago, but now it should definitely look more modern. In order to do that, you need CSS, okay? Okay, so CSS is called the cascading style sheets. So the name, it's a bit convoluted and doesn't make sense for now. It's okay. But CSS is the language used to make the website more beautiful. So it makes the presentation better. So it allows you to have a highly customizable presentation for your website. Again, it's not a programming language because it cannot do any calculations. You can only, nowadays I think it can do calculations, but very, very limited. Okay, so the way that you would do, so I'm going to skip some of the way, but go ahead to the most standard way, is to actually create a new file called style.css. Okay, so let me show you this. I'm going to go back to my VS Code, and I'm going to make sure that my Explorer tab is open. I'm going to create a new file again. This file is going to be called style.css. Okay? Again, pay attention to this particular extension. It has to be CSS. Okay? Once you're here, can you try this with me? Okay, I'll explain later, but I just want you to see if it actually works or not. Okay, so can you type this with me? Body. Okay, and type background color. You can see that VS Code helps you type. It's called the IntelliSense, right? I just start typing BACK, and now it's actually suggesting I should type this because it's already know the syntax for CSS. So once you do this, I can hit tab in order to autocomplete, right? And I say red. Okay, so that's why you use VS Code, because it helps you write code faster and more correctly. Okay, so pay attention to all this little syntax. For example, there will be the opening and closing curly braces. There's background color. There's a colon, and there's a semicolon in the end. Okay. All right. So as you can imagine, that this one is going to give me red background color, right? But if I were to go back to my website, you can see that it's not red at all. Okay, I'll let you type for a bit. Okay. Right now, it should not do anything yet. Okay, so let's make it happen. Let's make the background red, shall we? The way you would do is actually you have to go back to the HTML, okay? And you are going to write something like this, okay? So pay attention to this particular HTML tag. It's called the header tag, okay? See this one? Head and the closing of head. So this one is called header tag. I want you to put your stuff between this header tag. Okay, it cannot be in the body, not here. Has to be between here. Okay, so what I can do is I can make another line in here. I'm in the HTML. Okay, I'm gonna say link. Okay, and actually, if you can copy what I do here. Okay, but I'm gonna type rel equal style sheet href equal style.css and then self-closing. Okay, so it's a little bit long, but actually VS Code actually help you type. I'll show you later. I don't even have to type anything. I just use IntelliSense. Okay, but right now let's just confirm that actually my website looks pretty ugly. Now it's all red. Okay. If it's red, then it's working. Okay, so there are two things in here. Okay, you have to make sure that you have the CSS. Okay, and you have to have this particular HTML tag called the link tag inside your header tag. Okay, If you don't get it to work, let me know. I can go help you. Okay, you should save. Try saving it first. Oh, you haven't done this? Okay, can you type body? Okay, and then open and close curly braces. Okay, and then inside you can start typing like background, and you can see that it starts telling you. See, you can see this one. Just hit tab, hit tab. Okay, yeah, that's good. Actually, that's a valid syntax already. Can you save it? And then you can save the other one too. This guy right here. You should save this guy too. This one, you are missing that particular opening bracket. This guy right here, you're missing that one. And then you're missing that forward slash in the end. No, here in the end, forward slash, forward. Okay, and then the closing bracket, this guy right here. Yep, and you saved. There you go. It works. There you go. All right, so hopefully it works for all of you, right? And if it works for all of you, then maybe we can start making our website a little more modern, shall we? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to open this style particular, and then I'll put this one here, okay? And I can show you that whenever I make changes, then the style on my right changes too. So first off, you know, red is probably a bad choice, so maybe light gray. So I'm going to choose something around here and save. So much better, right? Maybe even lighter gray might be a good choice. Okay, something like that. The other thing is, okay, sorry, I forgot to tell you what happened. Okay, I should tell you what this particular syntax means, okay? All right. Okay, so just a quick recap of what you just did. What you just did is that you use CSS language to tell the web browser how to display things in terms of presentation. And the anatomy of that is you are going to start with what is called the selector. You can see that selector is nothing more than the HTML tag, right? For example, P is to select anything that inside that HTML tag, the P tag. Okay? So if you go back to our code, you can see that what did we just select? We are selecting the body tag. And where is the body tag in our HTML file? The body tag is actually here, right? It's actually the whole thing, like the whole thing, all the contents that we see on the page is actually living inside the body tag. So when we select the body right here, we're telling that, okay, just apply this particular background to the whole page, basically. That's what we just did, okay? And when you select something, you gotta tell, you know, what do you want to change. For example, you can have properties, color, and then red is the value, and then you have to end it with the semicolon. Okay, so that's the anatomy of the CSS markup language. And you know, that's all there. I mean, that's pretty much all there is, right? Any advanced thing you can learn later, but with just this type of knowledge, you can make a lot of things happen. Let me just show you. Okay, so I'm going to put it here, and I think, you know, the thing that will make our website more modern is is the fonts. So let's check out the font. It's called font family. Okay? So notice that I don't have to type the whole thing, right? I just type, just a little bit font, and then I can select using my arrow. And what you want is called font family, and then I hit tab to autocomplete, right? So that's how we do it, okay? And maybe you can type something, you can choose something in here, or you can even type it yourself, like Arial. That's a more modern font. And right away, you can see that the website font changes. Okay, and this is the full, the original Zoom version of it. Okay, so maybe feel free to experiment, right? You can have other type of fonts. You can just hit this again, and maybe you can choose something like this, right? You can do, I don't know, Verdana. That's another thing that look more modern, okay? Okay, so next stop is the font size, okay? So right now, this is the original size of my fonts when I have the zoom to 100% level, right? But there are also another property called font size, okay? Okay? Font size is going to tell you how big it is, right? And you can specify font size in different way, but for me, what works for me the most is called the REM units, okay? So for example, if I were to type 1 REM, okay? So that means that this is the original size that is default to each particular device. Okay, if I were to do this, nothing changes because 1 REM is the default size, okay? But if I want my website to be, the fonts to be a little bit bigger, then I can change it to be maybe 1.2. And you can see that it's a little bit different. So when you say 1.2 REM, it means that it's 20% bigger than the default size. And that's always the best when nowadays the website is viewed in different devices. And you don't want to specify the exact pixel. You should do it's called the relative size, okay? Something like that. Okay? Let's do something fun, shall we? We're going to go to a new selector. It's called H1. Okay? As you can imagine that if I write H1 like this, then I'm selecting whatever content inside my H1 tag. And my H1 tag just appear on the top, right? Okay? So let's do color, shall we? We can do color. And maybe I'll just hit something, maybe blue. And you can see that now my header one changes to blue, right? And this blue is maybe a bit too bright, so maybe I'll darken it a little bit, make it more less obtrusive. Okay, there you go. Looks nicer. And I might want my H2 to have the same color. So I'm going to copy this one here. You can see that now my H2 also has the same color as my H1. Okay? You can also make your website give a little bit more breathing room by play around with the margin and padding. Let me show you this. Okay? If I were to go to my body tag, actually I can do this. I can say my margin. Okay? And I want to say my margin left. Okay? So I want a little bit more space on my left. Okay? So I can say maybe 1 REM. I'm not sure. Okay. Maybe that's a little bit too small. I can do 2. And then you can see that I have a little bit of space. All of my content has this breathing room in here. I can do margin. Okay. And maybe I want to do the same thing with my right margin. So I do my margin right of 2 rem. Okay, so this one you will not see it that much. But if you were to make your website smaller, you can see that it actually leaves some rooms in here. So something like that you can do too. Okay. And again, you might guess that I can also do margin top. That's something that people like to do. Making the website goes like move down a little bit. So maybe 1.5 rem. That's too much. 2. I don't see it that much. So 4, something like that. Maybe this is a bit too much. So I'm gonna move it. I'm not gonna use it one. Okay, this one I think it's already good where it is. Okay. What else we can do? Okay, I want my H3 to be the same color too. Okay. Okay. Another thing I want is actually my image looks a bit too short. It's too rectangle. So let's make it a little bit round. So usually nowadays everything's kind of rounded corner. So you can do that very easily too. Okay. So I'm gonna select my image. Okay. And then this one, I want the radius. It's called border radius. Okay, to be maybe 1 rem. There you go. Looks a lot better, right? Nowadays, everything has rounded corner, so you can kind of specify it like this too. Sometimes. Okay, and just to let you know that there are tons of things that you can change in terms of like layout and a lot of things in here. So let me just show you, where you can search. For example, I mean, if you want to change anything, you can do CSS, right? And then just say, you can ask AI too if you want, right? There are properties, tons of property like padding, and you can kind of search for it. And usually this website has a lot of explanation of what it does. Okay, padding. You can do layout. Maybe you can try some layout a little bit. Okay. Okay. So if I want to try some layout, I can show you this one. Okay. So I'm going to delete my margin. Okay. So I'm going to delete this. I don't need this anymore. Okay. But what I want to do is I want to make my website smaller. Okay. So I can do width. Okay, so my body is a bit smaller. So maybe I can say 50 viewport width. Okay. Okay, this might not be apparent, but right now I have made my website. I just closed it. I just made my website 50% of the viewport. The viewport is actually the width of the tab. So I make my website 50% the width of it. So if I were to use another background color, then you might see this one. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so and then I'm gonna make margin. Okay, and then I'm gonna do maybe just 1 rem and then do auto. Okay, see that? So this essentially make my website kind of like center in the middle. If I were to inspect it, you can inspect your website, and then you can see that it has the margin on the left and the right side, and then kind of float in the middle. Okay, so I'm just showing you, right? You don't have to do this, but you can kind of make the layout of your website by just changing something like this. Okay, so maybe this is a bit too much. So I might just say 80% of the viewport width. And then I want the margin to be one rem on top and bottom. And then left, right, I want to do auto, meaning that it kind of spread things out equally. So my websites kind of live in the middle, for example, something like that. Okay, very cool. Okay, so feel free to experiment. For example, other things that we can do is maybe we can play around with the list. It's going to be li, okay? And it's called the style, right? List style, okay? I can say it's square. And you can see that my list is now square. So something like that, you can do it too, okay? And if you want, you can also just copy the whole thing and ask the AI to style it for you in a more modern way. And you can see that it's actually do a pretty good job. If you have just a one-page thing, then AI is perfectly fine to generate some CSS for you. And you can see that it looks much nicer. Okay, if you want, you can try that later on. Okay. Okay, so maybe I'll stop with the CSS for now, but I can move on to another thing. I think we have more time, so I think that's a good one. Okay, so there are more things you can do with CSS, and tons of things you can do. Font, for example, but I want to show you another technology called the JavaScript. Okay, so that will be a good way to conclude today, because JavaScript is actually the programming language you can use to make your website more dynamic. Okay, so you can do a lot of things with JavaScript, and that's the thing that can make the web application useful. Okay, what you can do is you can do content updates, you can do animation, maps, audio, video, all kind of things. Okay, so let's try something real quick. Okay, let's do this. So first, can you help me add this particular line? So right now, it might be useful if you have access to my lecture. Okay. Again, I'm gonna put it up right here. You can go to my lecture, and now you can click at the link. I suggest you click at HTML. Okay, so that you can copy things more easily. Okay. All right. So, and then you can go to page number 31. There we go. Okay. And if you go to my page 31, then you can copy this particular code, right? Copy. And then you can help me paste into your code. So right now, I want you to paste it into same thing between the header tag. All right, between the header. Okay, put it anywhere in here. So I'm gonna put it right here. Okay, so once you did this, then you can help me doing one more thing. So we are going to create one more files. In this file, we're going to call them script.js. Okay, it's called the JavaScript file, so it's called script.js. Okay, so again, pay attention to the extension, and also the name. It has to be this name exactly. due to the code that you just copied. Okay? And once you did that, can you help me do one more steps in here? We're going to type some code. So this is the JavaScript code. So something called alert. And then you can type hello world. Okay, that's it. All right, so what's happening here? So if you do this correctly, then if you were to open the website again, then you should be greeting with this dialog box. And then what it's saying is hello world. Did you get that? If you didn't get that, let me know. That means you did something, you might miss something in here. Okay, so let me just recap what we are doing. So we are going to input some dynamic contents into it. So JavaScript, right? The first thing is you are going to copy this particular lines of code from my lecture. It's page 31 in the header tag. Next up, you are going to create a new file from me called script.js. Okay, and inside you just type something like this. So alert meaning pop up the alert box that you just saw, and then inside just write hello world. That's all. Okay. So that's a JavaScript syntax. But we're not going to go in depth today, but I just want to show you how it works. Okay? All right, you got that? So every time that you refresh the page, you should be able to see the dialog box coming up like this. If you get that, then that means that you have the JavaScript working. Okay? All right, okay. So moving on, let me show you what you can do with JavaScript. Okay, that's my first example, right? So let's move on to another example. So this one, it's a bit more involved, but let me show you this one. So remember that we made a button in there, right? We made, like for me, I just made a button here, right? There's this guy right here. So I'm going to make this button more than, I'm going to make something happen when I click this one, okay? So what I can do is my button, it needs some special tags in here, okay? So you can either copy this particular line into the HTML, or if you already have the button, can you include this particular ID into the tag, okay? So let me just copy the whole thing. Okay, copy the whole thing. And I'm going to go back to my HTML. And I'm going to find where my button is. Okay? My button is right here. Okay? So this one, it doesn't have any ID. So I want your button to have this ID right here. So that's important. Okay? Work. Okay, so I'm going to save it, but not done yet. Okay, this is not done. All right, so, okay. Once you have this button with the ID inside your HTML, then we can start doing something with JavaScript. Okay. And the script or the code is actually right here. Okay? So I'm going to copy the code in here. on the second box. Okay, so I mean, right now you should open my lecture because nobody wants to type this, I think, right? I'm going to put it into my scripts, okay? And I mean, you can also delete this line because this line will always give you that pop-up. That's kind of annoying. So I'm going to delete them, okay? So my code will only contain this particular new snippet from page 33, okay? And you can see what happened, okay? You can see what happened. Okay, so if I were to click, you can see that my website also got some new text onto it, right? See that? And that's what I mean when I say something interactive, okay? So you click and then something happened, okay? If you refresh, then it goes back to your regular website, right? But then if you click, you can see that there are new things happening. All right, so if you don't get it to work, you can let me know, and I'll go fix it with you. Okay, if you got it to work, great job. Okay, so this is not a programming class, but maybe we'll inspect to see what happened, shall we? All right. So what's happening is that this is the code. It's a JavaScript, right? Again, the first thing that it's doing is actually this line right here, number 7. Okay, number 7 is saying that I want to target the HTML element with this particular ID. So this is why I told you to include this ID inside this button, because that's where the code is actually targeting. Okay, so I'm targeting the HTML element with this particular ID, and I keep it in this variable, right? It's like Python. If you learn Python, maybe not, but when you do programming, you keep your reference inside some certain variable. It's called button, okay? And what I want the button to do is that I want the button to listen. It's called event listener to the click right here. So that's when you click. Right? If you click, I want the button to do something. And that something is called create paragraph. This create paragraph, it's actually what's called the function. Okay, if you haven't learned programming, that's fine. But it's the sets of action that it would do once you click it. Okay? So this is what the function is. So that is the action right here. Okay? This action, it's actually to create a new element called the p tag, and then it append or it insert that particular text into it. Okay, so without understanding anything much, you should try changing it to see if it's actually doing what you expect it to do, right? For example, if you change the text right here and to see hello, right? Then you can expect that when you click things, it should say hello in your website, right? Let me go back, and I click, it should say hello, right? If that's the case, then I mean now you start to get the hang of what the code is doing, right? I think that's the bottom line. I want you to kind of get the overall idea of what the code is doing. So maybe you can try changing the text right here, okay? And as you can imagine, I can even change the whatever I add into the website, right? I can add not just the P, I can add H1. If I add H1, then you can imagine that I'm adding the header, right? Now if I click, new things come up, but then it's bigger. It's a header, right? Something like that. Okay, if you you change things and it works, then yeah, then you can kind of see how the code's doing. Okay, and another thing that you might want to do is changing how you interact with the button. Okay, this one, if you change into maybe DBL click. Okay, you can try that. This is called double click. Okay, if you change to DBL click, then you have to double click for the things to happen. If you only do one click, it doesn't work. You have to do double click, and that's how you interact or design the interactivity on your website. Okay, so instead of click, change to double click. Instead of this text, can you change the text to something else? And try some other elements to see if it works on your website. How are we doing? How are we doing? Very good. Okay. All right. So what are fun things that we can do? I mean, technically today we're not going to write the most complicated, useful web application, right? Usually just kind of fool around with the technology. So I have some other things you can do for fun. Okay. So this one is kind of nice. Okay. So what you can do is you already have the button, so you don't have to copy this one if you already have the button. Just include this one in your code, right, like this. So what you can do is you can comment this one out. Okay, so when you want to comment, you do maybe I can do this one. Okay, you can just delete it if you want. Just delete it and do this one. Okay. So usually you can comment, but for now I'll just delete them. If you want it, you copy the old things back. Okay. So this one is kind of like a dirty joke. If you're not from Thailand, this one is like a dirty joke. Okay. But you can change this one to something else if you don't read Thai. You can change it to be hello or something else. But you can imagine that this one, if you were to put the mouse over, then it's just alerts right away, right? And that particular behavior happened because of this mouse over. You can see that instead of clicking, I can make it so that when you have the mouse over, then it's trigger that particular alert right away, right? But again, if you're not from Thailand, you can change this one to something else. That makes more sense, okay? Okay, like this. See, it's pretty cool. You can make your visitor annoyed by including something like this. Okay, so it's pretty cool, right? Okay. We'll wrap things up. Yay, okay, I see you are having fun. Okay, so, you can work on your website for a bit more, but then in the end, right, you have great work, but there's no way to show other people, right? So there has to be a way that you can share this thing, right? And there is a way to do that. So let's do just that, right? I'm going to spend the rest of the time on what's called deployment, this thing. Okay, so this is the service that you can use to show off your great work. Today, to anybody in the world. Okay, so let's go to netlify.com, and you need to sign up. So please sign up. Doesn't have to be CMU email. Okay, it can be Google, Gmail, whatever you want. Okay, sign up. I already signed up, so I'm gonna log in. Okay. Okay, so netlify.com. So the way that it would look in my view, and for you it will be different because mine is already used a lot. So for me, I would add project, and I want to deploy manually. So can you guys look for that particular action right here? Okay. Okay. All right. Some people found it, right? If you deploy manually, okay, all right? Yeah. Deploy manually, right? Or this one, right? Okay, so most of you should see a box that says deploy manually, all right? Okay, so what I want you to do is maybe you have something like mine, but for me it's a little bit different, but the action is the same. Like I have this one, right? But you guys have like a little box at the bottom. What I want you to do is I want you to find the location of your folder on your desktop. Okay, like this. So for me, I have this guy right here, right? I want to drag it in here. Okay, like this. For you, you should be able to see like a little box that when you drag something on, it should kind of lights up or make some interact signal something. I'm not sure. Can I see? Can you choose this one? Yeah, just upload. Yeah. And upload. Okay.
Do I have to click here?
Maybe. Can you drag something in here? I just want to test. Can you try? Can you see if you can choose your folder? Can you drag it in here? Yep. Like that. Okay, so just drag it in. What I just found. Drag it in here. So folder. Oh, you did already. Okay. All right. And if you do it correctly, like I do it here, you should be able to find this link. Do you see this link? Like everybody's link is different. You can try clicking on it. And there you go. This is my website, but it's actually publicly accessible. Can you get that? So look for the link. Like once you upload it, it should give you that link that you can use to send it to your friends. Basically, that's already public. That's pretty cool. All right. There you go. Okay, so if you got this, show me, and you can go. All right. Let me just pause this one for now.